Hello everyone, welcome again for this new Ortho Forward podcast. I'm very pleased to invite today GB Ko, CEO of Medit, one of the leading company in the IO scanner and software. Please, GB, if you can introduce yourself and tell us more about your journey within Medit in the past 4 years, because I think you work now for Medit since 4 years, right?
Yes, almost 4 years. And again, thank you, Philip, having me over this exciting platform. I'm delighted to be here and maybe have a good conversation with you. So I was looking forward to this as well. So perhaps I should just introduce the company and myself a bit.
Oh, I think just by yourself, your background and what brings you to the IO scanner world.
Right. Okay. So my name is GB Ko, because many people sort of get confused about my name. GB is sort of the letter alphabet G and B, and this is sort of initials of my Korean name, which is Kyubum Ko. So and I sort of all throughout my career, I sort of went by these initials. So I'm just known as GB. That's how I go by. So about maybe 3.5 years ago, I joined Medit as a CEO. And back then, it was the sort of the founders and also the private equity owners reached out to me to have conversation, and that led to the appointment as well. Back then, I was living in Singapore, but the company was located and still is located in Seoul, South Korea. So that's how I moved to Seoul in South Korea and started working for Medit.
And before Medit, what was your main experience?
So before Medit, I was in the medical devices world about 20 years, and that included various different medical businesses, including maybe orthopedics, cardiology, general surgery, neurosurgery, vascular surgery, all these things. So I've been sort of moving around to different businesses, but also different geographies, regions of the world. So I worked in the U.S., I worked in England before, a couple of years in Europe as well. Then spent another couple of years in Australia.
Nice.
Then I spent 4 years in China. Another 4 years.
A traveler.
Yes, another 4 years in the Middle East as well. So throughout my career, I had this pleasure and opportunity to live in different culture, immersed fully. And I really love the fact that I do not just engage in this culture in a superficial way, but I was able to live in this culture, residing in that specific
So you speak
countries.
Arabic?
You will be surprised, but not really well.
Okay.
So so that really helped me both personally and professionally. And now I'm back to Korea. I am Korean, to Korea, and happy to sort of work in home country as well.
A quick joke. I've got 2 Korean brothers because my father is married with a Korean lady.
Okay.
Yeah. Just we are co-hosting this podcast with Dr. Serge Daon, which is orthodontist in the south of France.
Hi, Philippe. Hi, GB. Yeah.
Hello,
how are you?
Maybe you can introduce yourself, Serge?
Yeah, of course. Hello to everyone, and thanks, Philippe, again. I'm an orthodontist in the south of France and focused on digital technology, a member of a network that's named OrthoUp, which is a group of liberal orthodontists in France and in Belgium and in Switzerland too, and focusing on integrating digital workflow and efficiency in the orthodontic offices. And so I'm very pleased to co-host this podcast, and very honored to have you and to have the opportunity to speak with you, GB. And thanks for this opportunity too.
Thanks for having me again.
So first question, you joined Medit 4 years ago, a little bit less than 4 years ago, and it was an entrepreneurial story. It was really the creation, I think Medit is since 2000, right?
Yes, it's been a while. Yes.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Right.
In a field which has been really transformative for the dentistry. There is really a before and after in the dentistry about IO scanner. Can you explain to us a bit about the history of Medit and what makes the success of Medit back then, and since you lead the company, what has changed and what makes this trajectory so amazing and unbelievable in many ways.
It's amazing that you describe it that way. Before
No.
Medit and after Medit, I should use it more often. But yes, the company has been around for a while. I think that is sort of great way of describing what the identity of the company is. Also, because if you look at the company's history, it was really founded by our founders who actually sort of thought of this idea, and he got his PhD from MIT around the 3D scanning technology and printing. So the real sort of concept of the company is to how to use those technology for the benefit of X. So the founders thought about deploying and applying this technology into various different areas of many different businesses, including some of the reverse engineering businesses, some type of, you scan maybe Mercedes engine, then sort of understand how that's really made in a really down to the precision level. So that sort of businesses, they're looking for many different areas of businesses and how that sort of technologies applied to create value. And the company started really changing since the moment sort of the company started focusing on dentistry.
Okay.
And that led to another successes, small to a larger scale. And on the year 2018, that was when the first intraoral scanner from Medit, which was i500, came out. And that was sort of the beginning of a big journey into the sort of intraoral scanner businesses for us. And since then, sort of the company grew quite significantly.
Significantly, because I see around dental monitoring clients from Mexico to Australia and all over Europe and US. We see some of our clients using Medit. Can you explain a bit to us what is your footprint, where we can find you, what is your distribution model, and helping our customers to understand where you are and how you can support them?
Absolutely. So the fascinating aspect of our business, which is in the digital dentistry world, is that it covers off global very quickly, because there are always the doctors, clinicians who are really interested and into the digital practices all around the world. So we started serving those maybe doctors and clinicians around the world. So we had to adapt to the sort of the demand to serve them, which meant that from a very early stage, we had to learn how to serve the global market. So right now, we're pretty much everywhere in the world, except some of the countries we cannot go. But that means that maybe close to 150 countries we are there.
Wow.
And we have sort of a vast sort of network of our partners and distributors who serve to the clinics around the world as well.
And how at that scale, because you're a pretty large company now, how at that scale you continue, because it's always a question for us at Dental Monitoring, how to foster innovation, how to keep, even if we grow, how we can continue to innovate, make our team still see the vision, continue to invest more, doing these extra miles that will make your product special. How do you foster innovation at Medit?
Right. I am right there with you, Philip. I mean, how to foster the culture as well as sort of minds of the employees and all around us to sort of continue to innovate and push forward. And for us, some of the unique things I think about Medit approaching this innovation is about our way of listening to our customers. So I think that is an important aspect of sort of how we try to innovate. Because if you look at Medit, one of the things many people and many of our customers would remember us by is our Facebook sort of community group as well. And we have well over 20,000 very active participating members in that group. And they're sort of on a daily basis. They sort of upload their ideas and upload anything in their minds. And that sort of community is a great place for us to actually go and become very humble, right? Because these customers not only going to praise whatever we're doing, they're going to be critical and they're going to be sort of demanding these changes. And one of the fascinating aspects on that community is they share ideas, right? Ideas that are fascinating beyond imagination sometimes. And that is one of our motivation to continue to get better. And we take the ideas from there as well. They're voluntarily sharing their thoughts with us and asking us to sort of add these features into our software. Think about adding these features into your hardware as well. So we take those things very seriously, bring those ideas into our products, which is a great source of innovation. But also if you look at our product, although maybe we're in dentistry, what we make, the end product is technology product. So we actually go step by step and hence maybe shoulders locked in with the computer industry as well. So one of the moment the scanner performance really started to take off was actually with the beginning of the GPU as well. And not many people know this. This is a fascinating story. When the NVIDIA came out with the GeForce ranges of maybe 3080, those ranges hit the market. Maybe I recall maybe a couple years back. We were amazed how the performance of the scanners and how sort of the acquired data is performing and optimizing a lot quicker and capturing the data a lot better and more accurately, quickly. So these things sort of come hands in hand again. So it cannot just be that scanner is powerful. It has to be with the computers that are sort of operating these scanners that has to go hand in hand. Yes, so that is very important. And as you say, obviously software needs to be there to really sort of unlock this capability for the scanners to really perform well. And since then, we all know, the last couple of years, we're seeing the performance of the scanners sort of taking off on a monthly basis.
And I can say we are having the exact same observation on AI, artificial intelligence, or the performance of our products at Dental Monitoring has been literally boosted by the performance of the GPUs. The fact that before it was taking a few seconds, now takes sometimes milliseconds to compute neural network and to get even better, faster, cheaper result. So I completely follow your vision about the fact that just for us it's a software, but it's an hardware is really linked about also the capacity of the computer industry, which is helping us tremendously.
Absolutely.
Serge.
Yeah, I have a few questions for you too. Focusing still on the business perspective, I used to use scanners for a long time now. First with first versions of other brands, and how do you say you would differentiate from your competitors from a business perspective, not from a scanner perspective, but from a business perspective? How do you differentiate from the other ones? For instance, business model, is it different from your competitors, buying the machine fees and the monthly fees, things like that? Can you explain us what's your philosophy about this point and what makes you different? Because you are different and you changed the market of intraoral scanner.
Well, thanks for that question, Sarge. We have a lot to say on that point.
It's a key element of a success, huh?
Yeah, I think if I think about it, there are really two ways that I should answer this question. One being, we all understand the dental industry is rapidly transforming, especially last couple of years. But also when we define the intraoral scanner industry as maybe one subset of those maybe larger dental industry, I can say a few things about Medit's identity and how we're different from the other competitors from there. And as you say, yes, we started out, really our mission was to help our customers transform into digital practices, right? So we were really trying to understand what are the number one barrier for the customers sort of to adopt dentistry and what gets in the way. And number one, we had understood from our research was just the price of ownership. So total price of ownership we call. So it's not just the hardware that you pay today, but also the cost down the line. We identify that as okay. This is not really something that we're happy with, and let's go and sort of break the rules. And that was one of the moments and the decisions that we sort of decided, okay, we're going to make it very clear, one price for the scanner, and we're going to sort of continue to serve the customer without any sort of hidden charges or subscriptions, et cetera, et cetera. So that maybe differentiates us, especially early days when we first came out. Those were the days when 2018, 2019 were the days a lot of our competition were charging maybe 50, 60, 70,000 euros. And those were maybe slightly different business model to start with. So we really wanted to, it was not so much on a differentiation, quite frankly. It was just to answer, okay, what are the barriers and how can we help our customers to transform their practices into digital is one. And another, I think, very important and an aspect that we as a company are very proud of is the continuous improvements. What I mean by that is you sell this scanner today, and many customers purchase our scanners maybe today, but what we do afterwards is we actually continue to provide the better performance over the course of time. And how I do it and how we do it is to sort of continuously provide software updates, and those are all free as well. So if there's any innovation, as we discussed, any innovation because of maybe new findings on the software technology or sometimes even the hardware from the computers, for example, then we will bring those learnings into the software, which we push out to the customers. Then customers can download and they can update, and all of a sudden, their performance.
It's a bit the Tesla strategy. When you buy a
many
Tesla,
people sort of understand that as maybe Tesla's strategy. But if you really think about that, purchasing Metascanner is almost purchasing sort of our R&D group for the rest of the scanner life. So, and we're very proud that we're being right that point. We're being very, very transparent and try to be very honest, so that any new development features, any new improvements, we are going to continue to provide that to the entire network of installed bases, as you say. Entire sort of world is going to benefit from that. So that aspect, we're very, very proud.
but how do you, because very often when a new player or a challenger come to a market and come with a technology which have a clear equivalent, or they're really challenging the market, and you say you really try to understand what are the blockers for the dentistry world to adopt IO scanner in general, and you say it's price. But how do you then fight against this view that sometimes people would have about if you're cheaper, you are less good? How do you, it's always a balance between dentistry is a premium field in general.
Absolutely, yes.
It's a premium field in general, okay? So how was your strategy? Because even it's interesting for me, what was your strategy to really make your customers understand that you are a quality product, that you are there to stay, you're there to win the game of technology, etc., but providing still a pretty affordable solution to the market, not a discounted in technology aspect?
Right. That's a great question. We sort of contemplate that on that point quite a bit, because as you say, maybe there are some perception on sort of affordable means cheap, and cheap is not good. Yes, there is that. But again, our mission, we go back to our mission of the company. We're here to really unlock the power of digital technology into dentistry. And how we sort of wanted to realize that mission is to, one, at the beginning of the company, when we started, especially the launch of i500 and then i700, we were confident that technology, we were very, very proud and we knew from early on that our technology works. So if you have a technology that works and your mission is to go out and change the world, and what you can do is relatively simple. You want as many customers as possible to have their hands on our product.
Make it affordable.
Affordable, and also sort of make sure that on every sort of opportunity that we can get, we provide sort of this venue or opportunity for our customers to try it. And those have been our sort of fundamental driver of our marketing programs, trial programs, everyone. Come on and just try it first, and then you'll see it yourself. So that perception on affordable price means not good. We wanted to break that perception down by showing our product, have our customers have their hands on our product, try it. And those have been sort of fundamental drivers. After all, we think maybe there are only maybe 1 million-ish clinics around the world. But if you try really hard, getting at least some percentage of those groups is not entirely impossible, meaning that so we wanted to drive our marketing programs to sort of drive that trials, and we wanted to sort of win at the point. We sort of call that sort of moment of truth. Mm-hmm. So when our customers use our product, that was the moment that we focus on, so that they have good experience using the product and realize, oh, this technology works.
Mm. And by the way, it's not even 1 million clinics. It's a multiple of that. It's a multiple of that because lots of clinics have multiple scanners.
True. Market potential is huge.
If I may, Philippe, the product is cheaper, not cheap. And when you have the intraoral scanner in your hand, you see it's not a cheap product, and it represents many €100. So it's important to say that it's cheaper, but I won't consider it as a cheap product. And buying an intraoral scanner in your office is quite an investment because either it's matter of cost, of course, but it's a matter of workflow, and we'll discuss about that a little bit later if you want, because when you change the environment and the hardware, you have to change the software too. And I think Medit insist on this environment and this workflow. As you mentioned earlier, it's the hardware is nothing without the computer and the software. And can you explain in a few basic words how does an intraoral scanner work? Because many of us are users or want to be users of an intraoral scanner, but what is the basic technology behind the scene and how does it work? How can we acquire such precise images of our patients?
Great question again. Well, not to come across as too geeky on that technology discussion, but if I really look at what intraoral scanner does, and the question around why our customers sort of employ our scanners and what do they want out of it, is to really acquire the three-dimensional data of the dentin. Right, so that to us is our job to make it happen. And as I said at the beginning of our talk, we deploy the 3D scanning technology to accomplish that job. And how we do that is we look at sort of the intraoral space. It's a dark, sometimes wet, and sometimes there's blood, and there are only a few colors inside. So what we're trying to do is what our scanners do is go in, capture the visuals in two-dimensional way, of course, and what the scanner does, and subsequently what the computer software does is we overlay multiples, and not only multiples, tens of thousands of these maybe shots, and weave those maybe pictures and photos to create the three-dimensional sort of data, and then transform that into the mesh data, then subsequently can be used to create all the other things that sort of our customers to use. So That's how they eventually create maybe crowns, clear liners, sometimes splint, night guards, and all these maybe outcomes come out from that maybe 3D data, which cannot be acquired and cannot be done with only two-dimensional photos. And that is what we do, what our scanners do. But maybe I think just a step further into the scanning technology, our scanners deployed a technology called triangulation, which is a little bit different, and many of our customers know it very well because some of our competitors use a different technology called confocal, meaning that their cameras go up and down and capture the images through a little slot, and that's how they acquire their sort of photos, and then subsequently weave and everything after. Ours is look at the cameras are there to look at the objects and capture the data. Sort of the camera is not moving there, and
So you're triangulating
exactly
the two. You've got multiple cameras, and you do a triangulation of the images.
Correct.
Okay,
And that's how we believe that our technology can sort of realize certain advantages over the other technology type, but also it comes with obviously challenges as well. So it's more of a choice of the technology. I think by now, all our competitors, especially the leading competitors and us, we have come to this point where both technology works really, really well.
And do you start to incorporate, and please feel free to not answer to these questions precisely, because I know that there is tons of IP behind, but us as an AI company, okay, every pictures we capture, billions of pictures now, we process them through AI segmentation, very, very precise AI processes. Do you believe, maybe in many others, that the AI will change the game into the processing of the images, or to the interpretation, to the speed of capturing, or anything around that?
You guys already know the answer. All of the above, right? AI truly, we're always amazed by how powerful AI engine do in pretty much all aspects of our software developments. And by deploying sort of so artificial intelligence features of many sort of software capabilities, we're able to unlock just the ease of use for the customers. At the end of the day, AI is nothing if it doesn't come with customer benefit. And that customer benefit is what we're really trying to come down, because we know there's tremendous power deploying artificial intelligence sort of into the software. But sometimes if we sort of get too much onto AI in and of itself, then we sort of tend to neglect what customers really want at that point in the workflow. So in fact, quite frankly, what we're trying to do more is to understand that customer side of the equation first, because AI is so much powerful. So understanding the other part is perhaps more important for us to sort of understand and ace compared to the AI in and of itself. It's a tremendous sort of power, and we know that, and we're observing it, firsthand, like how it's changing the world now. Dentistry absolutely is going to be changed by these features as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
JB, thanks for this enlightenment, because I wouldn't know that there are many different technologies in the scanners and the part of the AI. Can you explain to us how your products, and Medit especially, works in terms of workflow for digital dentistry? Can you, for example, give us an example of practice, how dental practice integrated deeply the Medit workflow in the offices? And what is your vision of a fully digital workflow now, or maybe in the future?
Absolutely, it's a great question. So we would love to talk about this, because that's what we do.
I'm a great questioner. Yeah.
Right. So for example, I think vast majority of our customers, maybe I see some numbers, like 80% of the practices and customers deploy our products on, let's say, crown making in a simple way, prosthetics. How, in terms of workflow, how it works is not complicated. So patients come in. The first step is to scan, right? sometimes, that area of interest only, sometimes full arch as well, but scanning is performed. And then maybe two different ways afterwards. A lot of our customers will sort of just do scan and send to the labs. So that will be that sort of, although it sounds simple, but it's complicated in between, but they would scan and then they would send the data to their labs. Then subsequently fabrication happens in the lab as well as the design. And the other workflow would be some of our doctors, and many of them now, are using a step further sort of a workflow, which is they scan first and they acquire the data and they do simple things themselves. And we call that, let's say, collectively, let's call that design. And they look at their data, they want to do a few things, and then when you design certain things, let's say like temporaries, you can actually do it right there and then in the clinic.
Print them.
Can print them. Or you can send them to the labs as well. So now we're beginning to see a lot more interest on using sort of that first simple software in order to get to the temporaries. Now more and more doctors are getting into the final crowns as well. So we're seeing a huge change into a little bit of design, then what? So it can be just splint, night guards. Those are also very popular end outcome that our scan data is being used. So we're seeing this workflow popping everywhere as to from scan and send to scan and design and fabrication. So there we're trying to divide up so that it's easier for our customers to accomplish what they set out to do. So for example, we have a dedicated application in the Medit link. So our doctors can scan, and then they can easily just create splint in maybe 4 or 5 clicks. And that's when the power of AI comes in as well, because we have so much data, we more or less understand what the customers need at that point in time, assisted by the AI engine as well. Then maybe you scan, then 4 or 5 clicks, then you have splint design right there, and then you can send it straight to your choice of maybe fabrication, sometimes 3D printing, sometimes milling. Then you have the full workflow right there and then.
Oh, we see across the board more and more of these hybrid scenarios where doctors will use internal labs because the fast growth of printing, local printing. We see more and more orthodontists and dentists using this type of technology in-house to be able to product speedy treatment, quality treatment, and then for the more comprehensive treatment, we'll use a lab. So I completely follow your vision into that. Just a comment. Sometime for us as industrial partner, it's not always easy to understand that just a file transfer can be a pain for a clinic. Just a STL transfer on a web platform can be too much time for doctors, and we need altogether to work in a universe where API connections between products are made easy, that doctors can just transfer files with no hurdle.
Absolutely.
Just a quick question. You say and understand software is becoming a strong part of your investment in terms of innovation. The scanner is one part, the hardware is one part, and now the software, the workflow work is very important. If you can, in terms of roadmap, where do you want to land in the next 6 months, in a year time from now, in terms of about this innovation? What can you say about? Okay, guys, tease us a bit about what it's coming, if you can, on cool things that are coming.
Well,
as much as you can.
Yes,
I know, as much
course,
as you can. Okay, you're in a competitive environment, and
categorically speaking, a lot of cool things are coming in. So, because if I look at, I talk and I have meetings with our R&D team, the pipelines, both hardware and software, unbelievable. We're truly, this is an exciting time, Philip. If you look at the development and the advancement of the technology, is really exciting. Now, when it comes to the value that we have to deliver to our doctors and the customers. That's where we're focused right now. And you mentioned these maybe APIs and the partnership. I think that's very, very important field. So in maybe simple way of looking at it, one, we are trying to build as many partnerships as possible into MeditLink, meaning that our customers scan, and those scan data and scan software is already in the greater sort of MeditLink ecosystem. So right there and there, it's in front of them, user interface. If we bring our partners' services into that moment so that our customers find it easy, I have data captured, I have this particular services I'd like to.
Such as dental monitoring?
Yes, absolutely. And that's the power. And to us, it's almost that is the only way we create and deliver value to our customers, because that's what they want. Do not sort of make us to download that file, send it over as you described, and then go to other sites and like a few clicks right in there. It's 10 minutes after. So what we're trying to do is show everything in one maybe interface that's easy for our customers to do is one. And that requires, like you and I need to work together to create those integration, we call that, so that it's easier for the customers to use those services. Now, the second part, of course, is what we as Medit are focused on our development, which is, I described the workflow of the prosthetics, for example. I want that sort of process from scan and send to lab and scan and maybe design and make. This process should be a lot simpler. And we have some amazing ideas there to make it fluid, simple for our customers to almost don't even know what just happened, but I'm working on the end outcome. So that's our vision, to make our customers' experience into the digital dentistry very, very fluid, so there's no hassle there. So that's what we're focused on. And all the rest, the enablers, the AI, the technology, the software, the hardware, is just means to an end. And that's our vision to really push our development, maybe roadmap to accomplish as well.
And I think it's very important, because if I look at what I see on the market, we have more and more partners which, based on our API and the platform we have created, are creating their own businesses, using the DM API to actually use DM in a certain way, and creating business on the top of DM, leveraging the DM technology, and then you become a true asset for the dentistry world. When it goes out of your own body, when people see your technology as an asset, and use your APIs, your platform, and they create their own business. And I believe that if it's Medit Vision, I will completely share that, when you can give and become an asset for even other businesses to flourish and to be nice.
As you guys said, let's say even in the most developed market, the adoption and the penetration of the digital practices is probably less than 50%, even in the most advanced market. So the rest of the world has a lot to be gained by moving over to digital practices. And our mission, again, is to make that transition just a tad bit easier. And that's what we're going to work every day.
But the small win on the easy, it's a big step in adoption.
Absolutely.
So it's like I'm amazed sometimes that we do a slight simplification on our process, and boom, we see a massive adoption of the technology. It's so important, and I'm not sure that every partner always realize how much important the seamless workflow helps for adoption and the dentist and the performance.
You talked about the present and the future with your roadmap for dentistry and orthodontics. And what do you see as the most promising areas for innovation in the next few years in dentistry business and the orthodontic business, maybe? And how do you see Medit taking a part in this future?
I see. Well, first of all, the ortho world, you guys know much more than I do. So this is a question that I ask you back. But that said, maybe what I can do is I sort of maybe talk to you about the way we're seeing from our point of view, from Medit, how we view the changes that we face in the world now, in the dentistry right now, because there are very distinct changes that are taking place in our view. One is obviously the overall digital adoption is a big trend in the dentistry, and naturally that is assisted by the rise of the clear aligner businesses. And there are big companies out there really driving the trend to the digital alongside with the clear aligner businesses themselves, right? That's another big change. And also, we're also seeing our customers are changing. A lot of network clinics by the names of, DSOs, a lot of this maybe dental network are being created. And I think maybe because of that, or maybe as a result of that, possibly, we're also seeing some changes on the lab space as well. So from a scanner company's point of view, our question is, okay, are we positioned to survive or hopefully thrive in these changes? And I think that luckily in the scanner companies and maybe digital companies' point of view, all these changes are pushing the digital practices a step further. And there is all, as you say, then a bit more adoption on the digital practices and a bit easier for the doctors, GPs now, as well as the specialist group. Now the GPs are able to do a lot more than before. And we know when the GPs want to do more, especially on the DSO point of view, they tend to do more on the implantology, or they tend to do more on the orthodontic practices. So I think overall sort of trend is pushing more practices on the hands of the dentist, and I think that is quite an exciting sort of change from the Medit's point of view. But probably more important than just company view is how the customers are looking at this, and is it benefiting our customers, or is it something that our customers trying to sort of stay away from? I think that's something that we're trying to understand, especially the changes of the DSOs and their view on expanding their practices into something that they did not used to. And ortho is clearly, we understand many GPs' mind, because that's also a big revenue drivers for many of the clinics as well.
It's what we see really as an ortho-oriented company is that we are unlocking the digital space on things which was not obvious. For example, for years, braces was considered as an analog space into the ortho world. And through technology, through AI, through scanners, we are pushing this ortho space, this particular analog space, to become digital. In a very short term, we will see that, and I truly believe in this vision, short term, I'm not speaking 5 years, I'm speaking next year, 2 years' time max, that most of the treatment, in a way, will become digital. We are working on that. We'll be releasing great new products around that aspect, around digitalization of braces cases.
Yes.
And key element of that will be, of course, to start with a digital scan, with an IO scan, because to become the door to the digital world, even for braces, is to have an intraoral scanner.
I think that's, as we said, that's an exciting development, and we certainly want to be part of it. We want to sort of understand the transition, and this is sort of an exciting development as well. So.
Yeah, we will see it. It's great. We have seen the aligner raise into the ortho world. We see that now it's taking 25-30% of the volume across some markets, and globally 20% of the market is aligner. But there is still this massive part,
the mainstream
orthodontics, which is still analog, and we want to transform it for the benefit of the doctor, and at quality management, at performance, at better treatment, etc., and at the benefit of the patient, because better visualization, better understanding, more transparency, the digital space. So we see this coming. Medit will
No, I
be
think
part of it.
that's just a very important point, because that's why we admire your dental monitoring's technology there. Just unlock this potential of the mainstream wires and brackets businesses that was traditionally sort of known or understood as doesn't have to go digital. Now you guys are really pushing that trend over to digital. And once again, it's perfect to us also.
No, we are pushing that. It will be a great thing. Look, GB, really appreciate this very transparent conversation. Serge, thank you for all your questions. To all the audience, to OrthoForward followers, thank you for listening. We will be pleased to receive you again with a new surprise, new CEOs. And if you want more information on Medit, please contact GB's team and on medit.com probably.
Yes.
Medit.com. Yes. And looking forward for the next OrthoForward. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Serge.
Thank you, bye. Thank you, guys. It was a real pleasure for me too. Bye.
Especially thank you. It's lovely to be here in Paris and sitting down with you guys. It's lovely. So thank you again. And I look forward to catching up again.
Thank you.